Welcome, friends, to Dog Grooming Unleashed. We are Leigh and Michelle Caluneo. Our mission is to create a safe, welcoming space for dog groomers and pet lovers to come together to learn, laugh, and feel supported. So join us as we build a community where pet parents and groomers can come together. We also want to help groomers grow in their skills, share their struggles, and feel connected to others in the industry. So get ready to learn and laugh. We're so excited to have you here.
3, 2, 1. Oh, my head's cut off.
Oh, don't do that.
Chuck. How's that? They get offended about you talking about their fat dogs. And it's like, it's not like, I'm not calling you fat. I'm not like, okay, lady, like lay off the case.
Oh, they don't want to hear you call their dog fat either.
No. All right, here we go. Season 3, episode 1. Look at us go.
I can't wait. You know what? We should throw some music on right now. Let's dance.
Yeah,
this is the launch of season 3.
All right, today we're going to talk about why customer service is so hard in the dog grooming industry. We struggle a little bit sometimes.
It is hard. People think that grooming's hard because of the dogs, but it's the truth. What's the truth? Sometimes it's the customer service that breaks us.
Sometimes it's the customer service, for sure.
Today we're going to talk about that side of it that nobody sees.
Yeah, we love you, but sometimes you're just difficult.
I think this is very important for groomers and for pet owners alike. And that's what we're trying to help with on this podcast channel, is to share both sides so we can all be one happy, united front for the dogs.
Yeah.
And we can be. And I have that bliss with so many of my clients, and there's those few, but anyway.
Yeah, it's hard for me to want to complain. Today I went through, because I knew we were going to talk about this topic, and I actually scrolled through all the contacts of my phones for years to think of different times,
Yeah.
But one thing I wanted to talk about that really I think hits us hard, is hard to bounce back from, is when they don't, with no shows. No shows is a big tough one. And I just had one for a new customer. And then when they come back around, how do you politely deal with that? Because often I just want to be like, not a shot in hell. Like, I'm putting you back in my schedule.
Yeah.
But then sometimes you got to understand why they didn't, or maybe they forgot, or you know what I mean? Or whatever. But I just had someone no show the other day that had made the appointment. They confirmed the appointment. And then I actually had a cancellation earlier in the day. It was the holiday rush. It was 3 days before Christmas. And I texted and said, hey, I got a cancellation. If you want to come earlier. They had their red receipts on. I could see that they saw it. He never responded, and then didn't come to the appointment later. And I thought.
And then didn't even come to his regularly scheduled appointment anyway.
Yes. It was a new customer. But I thought I could have put I have all these people on my wait list. And I could have put 2 other people in there. And then when they reached out and were like, hey, and I was like, absolutely not. And because I'm.
Oh, they reached out for you to try to get it in the next day or something?
Like a few days later, like right after the holidays. I couldn't even respond. So I think that's a tough one where we're trying to stay professional. I don't get a lot of no-shows, but I thought that would be a great topic to talk about, because I see people talking about them often.
Yeah. Well, we got to try not to become emotional, but we are emotional because it wrecks everything for the day. And so staying professional and not becoming emotional about somebody who just broke your trust, because that's what it's all about. That's broken trust. They have trust in us to groom their dog, which is a biggie.
Yeah.
It's a biggie. I need to have the trust in you to bring the dog, so that I can run my business, and you're part of that. If you break our trust by not showing up, you cost me money, you mess up my grooming schedule. Hey, I know holidays are busy. They're busy for everybody, and I can understand. Oh my gosh, I found out I had to pick up Aunt B from the airport last night at midnight. I only got the message, or whatever. I understand things.
It's different, yes.
But you've got to be proactive and keep that relationship with your groomer honest, and say, I had to pick up Aunt B. I'm so sorry, but call me on the way to the airport. Don't call me 2 days later and ask me how I had something to do and, hey, can you do him now? Yeah. No, in fact, I never will. And that's where our emotions come in, because now we're human.
Now we're mad.
Yeah, you dissed me. I'm not doing that. And then we got to try to remain professional for the face of our business.
Yeah.
Hard.
But to me, I'm here, I left my home, I came here, I'm waiting for you. You can tell me you're late. That's fine. I mean, I'm pretty flexible and cool about stuff like that. But the no-shows to me, I don't do that. I don't not show up for anything. I wouldn't do that. I would always call. And like I said, I understand once in a while, things hit and people be like, "Oh my gosh, I totally forgot." Like, and I had already confirmed maybe 5 days before, and I get it. That's different. And that's not really what I'm talking about. But, like I said, this was a new customer. I saw that you read it. And I just thought,
Yeah.
it was right before Christmas. And it was like, I had all these people on my wait list that were waiting to get in that I had no room for. And I
People that you wished you could have served.
that I feel bad that I couldn't. And so yeah, so that's really hard for us to not, it's hard to stay composed and
It is. And I
things
think
like
you got to
that.
go right back to policies and boundaries. We
Yes.
talked about this in an older episode here in season 2, I think, Michelle,
Yeah.
where we said, look, guys, you've got to have your policies in place and you've got to stick to them as hard as it is. Because if it were me, if I stood my hairdresser up on 2 days before Christmas, I know what her schedule's like.
Yeah.
And if I did that to her, I may have literally had a menopausal brain fart. And I am so sorry, but I'm going to go there and I'm going to pay her. That's what I would do.
Absolutely.
That's what
Yeah.
I would do. I'm an idiot, but I respect you and I want you to take my money because please don't kick me out. Nobody else can do this
Do
blonde
what you
or
do.
whatever,
Yes.
and so there's that. But we have to keep those boundaries and policies in place. And one of those is we talk about grooming software. Guys, you got to use grooming software because grooming software is going to be sending out mega reminders. It's also going to take a down payment. If you take somebody's money partially, they're typically going to show up.
Yeah. If I were to restart, it's just me. And if I were ever to move and restart anywhere and have to start with all new customers, like I never, and that was my thing too, is like, I don't even usually take new customers. I just happen to take this dog on.
Yeah.
I was excited about it. And, but if I had to start over with all new people, 100%, I would do, and I would take deposits 100%. And you
You
can't,
should do it now. You wouldn't have any no-shows. I was a
I
single
almost,
groomer.
I almost never get no shows. That's why I was like, what the heck? So it was like, but I knew how that felt. I haven't had a no show in so long. I probably get about 2 a year. And I
Yeah.
hadn't had one in so long that I was like that. I knew how that made me feel. And I thought that's a great topic to talk about. And even as a hygienist, I knew what, we would always have, I always had a wait list as a hygienist.
Yeah.
And then, you have all these people trying to get in, get their teeth cleaned, and you have people just not showing up, or the whole family doesn't show up. And it's like, we're all
That's
just
right. Wow, that's your whole day.
yeah.
And for me, a no-show for a new client, it's over. That's it. An existing client that is loyal with me and has been loyal for years, I will give them some gray area there.
Yes,
Okay,
I agree.
okay, I can handle it. It didn't work well for me that you didn't show up, but I'm still going to serve you. Maybe a couple no-shows, and I would have to, and I have, tell them, I'm sorry, I can't. This relationship is built on trust as well as it is service, and you're not holding up your end of the bargain. And I hate to have to tell you, I really do, but I have to let you go. So a first client no show, I'm done with them at that point, and I'll tell them. They call back, I'll say, oh my gosh, no, you didn't show up on your first appointment, and I'm sorry, I can't
That's
take
not how I roll.
Yeah, and I think people should stick to that, and that's being professional. That's defending.
And I also think people can be too extreme on the other end too. Like someone will be like, my mother passed away last night, and they're like, well, I need to get paid. Like I've seen some of those posts,
Oh
and I'm
no,
like, yeah, I'm like, that's a bit much. Like
yeah,
that's in that how to stay professional and
yeah,
how to be really good at customer service, like in this industry. Like you also have to be understanding and kind. Sometimes people are going to have emergencies, and you can't be like, well,
absolutely.
now I'm out $50. Like, you know what I mean? Like that, you have to work that in your business wiggle room. And
Or I've also had it was the dog that all of a sudden
yes,
midnight, Fluffy was whining and crying and started throwing up violently, and I have an
yes,
appointment later at the vet today, but I could still bring her in for grooming, and I'll say, absolutely not. She is not up to it today.
yeah,
And I'm not mad at you.
Yeah.
Fluffy
Yes.
can't do it today.
Yeah. And I would never be like, oh, but it's a $50 cancellation.
No, no,
No.
I would not.
And so those are the ones I'll see sometimes. And I'm like, you can't do that. Like you have to, so it's all a balance. And I think that that ties into why customer service is hard sometimes because we do take it personal, like you said. And this is our livelihood and this is how we earn a living. But when they don't show up, it's hard. It hits us a little bit. And so
It
I think,
does. No shows are definitely a big problem. One of the other things in customer service that I can struggle with from time to time and have in the past is unrealistic requests for grooming. When I say unrealistic, for the most part, it's not like, oh, do a mohawk. If you really want me to, I will. It's not going to hurt the dog, except for its pride. But if you're asking me to do something that is against what is best for that coat type and skin, say it's a Bichon that typically has sensitive skin, I'm not going to shave it with a 10 and do this exaggerated Asian fusion because
yeah,
she's going to get sunburn because she has very fair skin and she doesn't have a dense enough coat to protect her skin. So what I'm saying is the unrealistic, this is where your customer
yeah,
service needs to shine, guys. You need to talk them into a situation, and explain to them why I can't do that with your Bichon. And here's why. So understand what is safe for a dog, what isn't safe for a dog. So unrealistic expectations for certain breeds. This may be okay for a poodle, but that's a different coat type. It's not
yeah,
okay for a Maltese. So that's where your customer service has to shine, and that's where you get to wear your skill cap and help educate your clients so they can make the right decisions for their babies. They love these dogs. You don't
yeah.
want to set that dog up for a sunburn or a skin allergy because he had
Or skin irritation because you'll
cold.
get a phone call about that.
Sure, yeah, and a vet bill. Yeah, you
Yeah.
turn
And
out
then we get
this.
defensive. And that's part of it too, why it's hard for us sometimes because we do get defensive because we get a phone call for everything. And I'll see
Yeah.
like on some of like the groups I follow too. I'm always on Facebook, like reading all that. And they'll be like, my dog had a groom 2 weeks ago and now this is happening. And the people
Yeah,
will be
I'm
like,
like,
I hate
oh,
groomers. And I'm like, what? And I want to be
oh,
like,
yeah.
it has nothing to do
Wow.
with grooming. Like,
Yeah.
so we do get blamed for everything. And I think it's hard not to be defensive. I get defensive for
Oh,
people that I see on the internet. Like I said, luckily I have like a
it's
great,
not even you.
not even me, but I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like, that has nothing to do with grooming, And so it's just,
Yeah.
and sometimes it does. I just saw a post the other day. It looked like the groomer had accidentally went like directly into the skin with her 10. And so you
Hmm.
can see like there was a line and you
Oh,
could,
okay.
the
Like it was
groomer.
irritated. It wasn't a cut.
I bet you it was a little cut and I bet she didn't really notice it when it happened, but it looked like she got it twice. And,
Yeah.
and now you can tell the dog's been licking it nonstop. So it's all
Yeah.
inflamed. And I think the owner of the salon, and some people were like, maybe it's a bite, but it really didn't look like a bite because it was straight, like clippers.
Yeah.
And but that stuff happens. And
Yeah.
so I think the owner was just trying to figure out how to deal with it,
Well, I'll tell you, there are ways to do that, right, Michelle? There's ways to say, listen, obviously, if she didn't know that that happened, she didn't know it happened, but that doesn't mean it didn't happen.
Right.
So be, say, wow, I hope you understand. If I was aware that that happened, I would have immediately put some skin works on, it
Yes.
would have been just a light irritation. We could have taken care of it. And I am so sorry if I missed that. If I missed that. You're not saying I did it. You don't know.
Yeah.
You're verbally being told what's going on now. You're like, I don't know if I did that, but
Yeah.
if I did, I am truly sorry. I try to be very careful, and that's important to me. And I'm sorry that
Absolutely.
Fluffy is dealing with this right now. Be human and professional at the same time. It's a trusting relationship, and you have to keep cultivating that
Yeah.
with your
Well,
client.
and it sounds like this dog was pretty wiggly too. That's my thing. Like, if your dog is really actively trying to bite people and is really, just poorly behaved, like from my personal experience, that falls on the owner. That's poor leadership that your dog thinks that they can just bite people. Like, and
Yeah.
so that's going to make the whole process a lot harder. If you went to go get blood drawn and you were alligator rolling and trying to bite your phlebotomist
Well, I
the whole
do
time,
that.
You might
Don't take my blood.
you might have some bleeding. I mean, like, you know what I mean? You might get
Right.
a little bruised, you know? I mean, so you got to understand sometimes we are working with live animals, but sometimes they're really fighting us. And so things are going to happen, right? And that's, I guess, what I'm just saying is that things are going
Yeah.
to happen. And
Be understanding of what the groomer's dealing with. You know your
yes,
dog better than anybody. So don't
yes,
deny that you don't experience this kind of stuff. And
exactly.
if your dog
Exactly.
is a biter, it has to be disclosed to the groomer right away, and they have to decide if they're willing to work with the dog because it's a huge risk for the groomer and it's a huge risk for your dog. Because if he does bite the groomer and the groomer needs a stitch, whether the groomer wants to report that or not, the
Yeah.
hospital's going to report it.
Yeah.
What dog bit you? We're bringing the cops in and they're going to ask you to fill out a police report because we need to know that the toddler next door that lives with this dog is not going to get bit.
Yeah.
It's important.
Yeah. No, it is. It's all, and and we've all encountered dogs that are really pretty dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Get
Yeah.
nervous. I mean, I've had real conversations with people. I just had someone come in and they're pregnant. And I just was like, oh, this dog is going to do so good with your baby. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is just such a great,
Going to
wonderful
be a
dog.
little nanny dog.
You can just tell. And I
Yeah.
love, giving that great feedback that like, or I'll even be like, I can't wait till you guys do have kids because this is going to be such a good dog. But just as much as I've had to have those conversations, I've had to have the ones where I mean, I can think of one that I said, I'm going to tell you right now, I would be very nervous bringing children into a home with this dog.
Yeah.
And that is the raw, honest, like, you know what I mean? Do not, this is going to be dangerous. Like
That's
you have a
good
dog
advice.
you have to, because we know, like we see
Yeah.
we see all different kinds of dogs and sometimes they're a little just neurotic too. And they go from the ones that make me the most nervous are the ones that go from 0 to 100 like that.
Yeah.
Like they were fine. It wasn't like something because you have the
I
dogs that,
had that happen.
yeah.
Or with
Sometimes
the
it'll build
client.
up and you see it building up at the shop and then you're like, nope, I can see you getting really worked up and we're going to just de-escalate and we're going to take a break, like whatever. But then there's the ones that you can tell that they're nervous, maybe panting. And then it was like, like, and you're like, oh my gosh, like
Yeah.
that
Well, that
escalated.
nervousness is fight or flight. That means it can rear its head at any time, or the dog may
Yep.
just tend to go into a nervous convulsive fit. But whichever way, it's going to go one way or the other. But I actually had a client that was a repeat client. So I had groomed two of her other dogs, one of which had already passed on. I groomed it through its whole life. So she was a longtime client, and she had, believe it or not, it was a powder puff Chinese crested, and it was so such a sweet dog. And
I love them.
they bragged about how much they overfed her, and she was obese. And at this point, and she became obese before 2 years old. She was obese, and she had these petite little legs.
Yeah.
And she was literally that wide, like a barrel. Like
Oh
that's
my
how
God.
wide her body was. It saddened me so much because
Yeah.
I knew, she's not going to live a healthy life. And they loved her so much. And she's just going to fall over dead one day. And they're just going to wonder why.
They're going to be
And
devastated.
so here's one, they'll be devastated. But here is one area where, the customer service topic that we're talking about right now. I'm not a vet, but I also see a lot of dogs, and I see the results of obesity with dogs on the grooming table, how that affects them. And I've also seen multiple clients in the past lose their dogs early in life, 6 years
Yeah.
old, and the dog was obese. Do you not think that had something to do with it? Congestive heart failure early, all the problems, heart attack, fell over, boom.
Yeah.
So I tactfully, upon checkout, talked to her about maybe you should consider maybe feeding some fresh whole foods and some kibble
Right.
and no treats, because she really struggles. And the struggle on the grooming table with this dog was getting really bad because she was entering into her senior years. She was getting towards her senior years. She could hardly stand. Grooming was becoming uncomfortable for her.
Yeah.
So I really did need to say something. If they choose to just go on and kill the dog by overfeeding it, and they talked about what they feed the dog, it was terrible. She got so offended and so mad, and she left my services. She was at least a 2 decade, going into her second decade client, probably 18 years she was a client with other dogs.
Oh,
She got that offended. And sometimes I guess the truth hurts. Maybe that was one of those cases.
they don't want to hear sometimes that like, and people, they get offended about you talking about their fat dogs. And it's like, it's not like, I'm not calling you fat. I'm not like, okay, lady, like lay off the
Oh, they
queso.
don't want to hear
Like,
you call their dog fat either.
no, but I will call out a fat dog all day and I'm not being mean because
Mhm.
you have control over that. I know it's fun to give them treats. And also I'm sure you have too, where like your dogs chunk up and you don't really notice it. Right.
Yeah,
And like all of a sudden I'll
until
look at
somebody says,
yeah, and you look at him and I was like, you look like a potato. I've done it too, where you're just seeing them every day and you don't really notice that they've turned into a sausage.
yeah,
And then
right,
and
right.
then someone will say something and then they get lean and you're like, oh my gosh, they're moving
Oh,
better. They're
I
not peeing
have seen
as
that.
much.
I
Yeah.
have seen a dog go from fat to lean, and the difference in the dog, in every way, the
Yes.
dog's happier. The dogs that are overweight, they come in and they look like they literally are in pain and depressed. And
And they're
they probably feel
panting.
it, you know?
Yeah.
They have to.
Yeah.
And I've seen them when they lose weight. It's amazing the transformation, but it's lengthening their life and it's going to let them live a happier life, not
I
feeling
call
the
him a
pain.
chunkosaurus when they come to my
Chunkosaurus,
shop. I'm like,
yeah.
aren't you a chunkosaurus?
But so I think that is very relevant to this topic
Yes.
is groomers. I know we don't want two groomers, but sometimes you got to find a playbook of how to inform a client if you need to that their dog really is overweight a good bit and how it affects the dog and how it affects your grooming sessions because it is relative to the grooming sessions. The dog won't stand and it's too big. I can't pick him up. That's a problem.
And part of it is just having thick skin. Like you know what, we have to give feedback. Sometimes people aren't going to like it. It's important that we stay professional in our conversations with our customers, but it's also so much more important that we give feedback. And if they don't like it, then, I mean, I can't control how people feel and respond, right? But I do the best I can to do what's best for your animal.
And when treading lightly,
Yes.
like treading lightly, not saying, your dog's fat and that's a
Right.
problem for me. I mean, that's offensive the way I
Yeah.
just said that.
Yeah.
That, you have to
It's
word
hard
it
for me to groom
differently.
them because they're so fat. Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
wouldn't be like that. But you want to
Yeah.
be like, it's
I've
important.
really noticed he's struggling so much with
Yeah.
every grooming session. It's worse and worse, and I know that the weight could be a factor. And then follow it up with a real fact. Technically, her bones are pretty petite. She's a poodle. She doesn't have real big bone structure, so she's carrying all that load on those little petite bones and her
Yeah.
joints. And that's how I approach that, and not say, nothing
And be
offensive.
relatable and not
Mhm.
judgmental. Like, so, when I talk to people about aggressive dogs, I am always like, listen, I get it because I have a super reactive dog. Like, I
Yeah.
understand that. And that was something that I learned in hygiene too, that I'd be like, oh, okay, you're not flossing, but you're brushing really good. Like, you always want to like be positive too.
Yeah, I gotta tell you this, but I'm gonna give you a cookie.
Yeah. And I'll be like, listen, I know, like, it's so easy to give them treats. Like, it's so they're just when they're
And they
food.
beg and they beg.
And yes, and they're so cute and I love them. So if you're talking to people that way, they're going
Yeah,
to be a lot less than you being like, he's really getting fat, huh? I mean,
yeah.
you can't do that.
Like you just said, find that way to communicate it. And groomers, there are several things that you have to communicate with the pet owner that's because the dog can't communicate it to them because dogs
Yeah.
don't speak English. And because you do know a good bit about dog skin and coat, you don't ever diagnose a dog. Your dog has, Cushing's disease. No, 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 no. We don't diagnose. We just notice a difference and report it to the
Yes.
client and say, I really think it would be in your best interest to have a vet take a look at this before it's a huge problem and we can't get it under control.
Or this was not here 6 weeks ago. I've never
Yeah,
seen this on your dog's skin. I'm not sure if he's got a bacterial or fungal thing going on his skin, but I will tell you, none of this was here 6 weeks ago. So
yeah,
definitely, get him checked out. Or his ears never looked red or irritated or stinky. Now today it does. Oh, he's been swimming in the pool. Yeah, I would definitely get him over to the vet.
yeah.
Yeah, I never
Right.
try to. I don't
Very
like we
important.
talked about that before. I stay right in my lane. I'm like, off to the vet you go. I don't,
And I
I,
know, we hear this a lot in the grooming industry, but I'm not sure if our viewers hear this a lot. But the groomer is the first line of defense for
yeah,
something being alarming or has changed with your pet. We see every nook and cranny of your dog, and we're right up there close and personal,
yeah,
with them. And we do see it, and it is an actual gift that somebody other than your vet who sees them once a year, somebody's seeing them every 6 weeks. It's a gift to have somebody monitoring any changes with your dog. So it's another thing your groomer gives you that
yeah,
maybe you take for granted. They
yeah,
report a new wart or a skin problem on the belly that maybe you haven't noticed because they're a thick coated breed or shedding breed. The ears, we're in those ears. Teeth. We always look in the teeth. I don't do anything with teeth. I leave that, other than I will do brushing,
yes,
dental brushing. But I leave that to the vet. But I'm always looking at them, and I know you do too, Michelle.
always, yeah.
We report back to the client, right? Hey, I'm
Stick my
seeing a
fingers in their
good bit
mouth.
of buildup. Or I found a wiggly one. That means it's ready. It's got a problem.
I like to lift up their jowls, so and be like,
Yes.
yeah, it's just fun.
Anybody else would think that's scary. You're sitting here
You're
working,
like,
you're
"Grr."
doing this, looking at a dog's canines, and your kid walks in and goes, "Jesus, mom, that's scary." I'm like,
I'm like, who's this scary
"Don't bite
girl?
me. I'm not afraid of him. He loves me." No, I never put my face in a dog's face, but yeah, it's funny how we just think, no, we have trust. I got this.
Yes, exactly. I think it's tough for us sometimes to stay composed,
And not be offended.
and not be
It's
offended.
almost offensive across the board for groomers when people say, groomers do this, groomers don't know this. That's offensive. It's hard not to take offense to it. So I suggest that, a lot of people don't get too ingrained with social media because there's a lot of bad actors there on social media, people that just
Yeah.
want to hurt.
And 99.9% of the groomers are really trying their hardest. They're doing their best.
And they're
Uh,
educated.
Absolutely. And so customer service is so important. And I think I always feel better when I don't get emotional. I was just talking about this with another groomer, how like I don't make videos mad,
Oh, yeah, because it
don't
comes
make videos.
across.
Yeah, don't say anything. If you're
Mhm.
really feeling, I'll just be like, okay, well, thank you so much for your feedback, and it feels better. If
Sure.
you want to ponder later and send a text message, that's another thing. But you always want to really make sure that you're staying professional and being kind, sticking to your guns and really saying what you need to say, knowing your worth. If someone's not showing, sorry, I'm not going to keep putting you in my schedule, things like that.
Yeah. And to know your worth, think of all the customers that are absolutely raving about the work you do. So when you question yourself because you get a negative Nelly and you think, yeah, maybe I'm just terrible, ain't I? No, 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 no. Think about the 99% of your clients that say, I love you.
I love her.
Thank
Yeah.
you. And professionalism, if my takeaway for this episode is that professionalism definitely protects the dog
Yes.
first. And I think that's important that it's always dog first. And when you keep that on the front burner with your communications with the client, they see that it's not a money thing, it's a business, but yet, you're actually, going to bat for my dog.
Yeah.
And that's pretty cool.
Yeah, we care about them. We want to make
Yeah.
sure that we're doing what's best for them too, because that's really what we're there for. I love building relationships with people, but obviously, I'm going to chit chat with you for a minute and then I'm going to spend 2 hours with your dog and I want to make sure I'm doing what's best for them.
Yeah. And that's a very intimate time that you spend with a dog in the grooming salon. It's very intimate between you and the dog. And it's a gift to us to have that from the dog,
Yes, for
that
sure.
bond and everything. But most clients do understand that it's special and that they couldn't do it. I don't know how Fluffy just adores you. I don't know. He just loves you. So whatever you're doing, Amy, don't change a thing. It's like, well, it was a bond that we
Oh, all
created
right.
10 years ago. Yeah, yeah, I get it. But
You think I'm fabulous? Okay.
yeah, right. Let me get my tea off.
Yes.
No, no, actually, oftentimes as groomers, guys, we do have a little bit of a low self-esteem because we wear too many hats. And
Yeah.
we could be having a stellar day on the grooming table with all the dogs, and then We have one client that we just couldn't please for some unrealistic reason. And it shoots you down a bit, and it affects your confidence and your groom game. Try to stay up there. Stay up.
Yeah,
Okay. And leave
absolutely.
comments, right, Michelle? We want to
Yes, tell us what you
guys.
think.
Yes. Give us some
Or topics
stories.
you want us to talk about. We love hearing from you guys. So definitely leave topics for podcast episodes, leave questions. We're happy to answer all of them. We're here for you.
Absolutely. We're the Dog Grooming Unleashed community. So
Yes.
welcome to it, guys. And we got some more great topics coming. In fact, our next topic, Michelle, is awesome. It is, what is our next topic?
Dog breeds that we well, hold on,
Yeah, the honest episode. Breeds
the honest
we
episode.
love.
Yes.
Breeds we love and breeds we struggle with. And sometimes we love a breed and struggle with the breed. So there's
100%.
reasons we love it and why do we struggle. But we're going to talk about all that. So that'll be coming out in a week from today, guys, at 5:30, every Monday, 5:30 p.m. Eastern time. So please tune in because we just love seeing you be part of this.
We sure do.
Love you guys.
See you next time. Bye, guys.
Bye. That wraps up today's episode of Dog Grooming Unleashed. Thank you so much for spending your time with us. We are truly grateful to have you as part of our Unleashed community. Don't forget, we drop new episodes every Monday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So grab your coffee or your clippers and hang out with us again, my friend, next week. If today's conversation made you laugh, taught you something new, or just made you feel seen as a groomer or a pet enthusiast, please take a second to like, subscribe, and share this episode with a friend. And we'd love to hear from you. Drop your thoughts, questions, or even your funniest grooming moments in the comments. We might just feature your story or question in the next episode. And we can't wait to keep learning, laughing, and growing right alongside of you. Stay kind, stay curious, and keep grooming from your heart.